Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to start with the land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island and the surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. We will now have a moment of silent reflection, followed by the playing of our national anthem. Okay, members of council, if we can get an adoption of the agenda for November 14th, 2023. Moved by Councillor Reno, support Councillor Burns. All in favor? That carries. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, there being none. If we can get an adoption of our minutes from our closed and regular meetings held October 24th, 2023. Moved by Councillor Desjardins and Councillor Riccio-Spagnolo. All in favor? And that carries as well. Mayor's comments. First off, Deputy Mayor Capado will not be joining us tonight for personal reasons, and Councillor Desjardins will be joining us through Zoom link. It's been a very busy few weeks here in LaSalle. On Monday, October 30th, we had the groundbreaking ceremony for our second fire hall, which will be located at 2160 Front Road. On November 8th, we held the groundbreaking ceremony for the new entrance garden at the Event Center, and this project was made possible because of the Windsor Essex Community Foundation, the LaSalle Community Fund, and LaSalle Ambassador Horticultural Society. As well, the town was also successful in receiving a grant for part of the project, which is funded by the Ontario Ministry of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs. November is Women Abuse Prevention Month in Ontario, and on November 2nd, I attended the Shine a Light tree lighting ceremony at Charles Clark Square to raise awareness of women abuse. Tomorrow, November 15th, is Wear Purple Day, so join us and support victims and survivors of women abuse by wearing purple. On the weekend, the town held a beautiful Remembrance Day ceremony, and we want to thank retired Commander Father Stan Fraser for emceeing. The Remembrance Day Ceremony Planning Committee for another beautiful, well-planned event, town staff who assisted with planning and organizing of the event, as well as those who participated in the wreath laying and other aspects of the well-attended ceremony. A special thank you goes out to the Vincent Massey Band, who had approximately 40 students there providing music throughout the service. They did a wonderful job, and we appreciate their large contribution to the ceremony. And right before the ceremony, Deputy Mayor Akapat and I had the chance to visit our retirement homes in the community and thank our local veterans for their service. A special thank you to staff for hard work and fantastic execution of our Truck or Treat event, which was held at the end of October. It again was a huge hit and very well attended, and I'm happy to say that a $2,000 donation was given to the LaSalle Food Bank from proceeds. Next Friday, November 24th, we kick off LaSalle Holiday Lights Heritage Nights here at the LaSalle Civic Center with a tree lighting ceremony at 6 p.m. So join myself and council as we light the 40-foot tree. And then Saturday includes a live caroling performance at the Civic Center, and Sunday is the first holiday night market of the season from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Event Center at LaSalle Landing. Many weekend activities are taking place from now until December 17th, and you can find full details on our website and social media pages. And the lights will be on daily from 5 to 10 p.m. and shine brightly into the first week of January. And finally, Breakfast with Santa and the Mayor will take place on December 2nd, with tickets going on sale tomorrow. We have no public meetings or hearings, so we'll move into our presentations and delegations. And the first one we have is a certificate and congratulations to our 13U, I believe that's right, 13U LaSalle Athletics Gold 2010, so our girls softball team. And we're going to invite the coach up first to speak about the achievement.
Good evening. My name is Chris Potter. I'm the head coach of the LaSalle Athletics 2010 team. I'd like to start off by thanking the mayor, council, administrators for welcoming us into your chambers this evening and honoring and recognizing the accomplishments of the Eastern Canadian Championship winning LaSalle Athletics 2010 team. Kind of weird talking to them with my back to them, but hey. Before getting into the details about the Eastern Canadian Championship, I would like to kind of do a quick preface of the full season. Our win-loss record was 34-7 during tournament play and exhibition, heading into the provincial women's playoffs. We had 2 tournament wins. We won in Toledo and Cambridge, and had 3 very strong showings in other tournaments. During the provincial qualifying event, which was in Saugeen Shores, we went 5-0. We outscored our opponents 64-9, and winning the tournament seeded us first heading into the provincial championship. During the provincial championship, we went 3-0 during the round robin, outscoring our opponents 36-7, which included a come-from-behind win in the last inning against a very strong Oakville team. This set us up for a semifinal against a fierce Vaughan team. Pretty sure my pregame speech went along the lines of leave it all in the diamond, empty the tank, no regrets, and believe in yourself. These ladies came out on fire as the berth to the Eastern Canadian Championship was on the line. And they won 12-5, yes. This set up the championship game against an undefeated Waterloo Gold team. You'll probably hear their name a few more times. They were 60-0 at the time. These girls played their hearts out. Unfortunately, came up a little bit short, earned a silver medal, but we also earned an opportunity to play in the Eastern Canadian Championships and represent Ontario as Ontario 2. Both our season goals were accomplished at that moment. Our goals were to medal at provincials and earn an opportunity to represent Ontario in PEI. So with a quick 10-day turnaround, we found ourselves in a small rural town on the east coast of PEI. The town was Cardigan, to face off against the best teams in Eastern Canada. During the round robin, we went 5-0, outscoring our opponents 52-10, with wins over Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and the host team from Trois Rivières, I believe is what it was, or Three Rivers. Winning our pool set us up to play the winner of the other pool, which happened to be Waterloo. Again, it was an opportunity to play our rivals from Ontario, a team that we needed to kind of show them that we had a little bit more left in us. And this time, the ladies were determined to flip the script. They were pumped for a chance at redemption. After falling behind in the first inning, 3-1, the girls came out on fire. They put up 7 unanswered runs in the second and third inning and added 3 more insurance runs in the last inning to hand Waterloo their first loss of the season, and we earned a spot in the gold medal game of Eastern Canadian Championships. That win at the moment, I think the girls would agree, was like winning a world championship, because Waterloo had our number all year. They beat us probably 4 or 5 times before that. By far, it was the biggest win and the coolest setting. It was a night game, Friday night. It was pitch black everywhere around us except for the lights on the diamond. There was not a single light, not even a light in the parking lot. So it was like playing out a Field of Dreams kind of situation, which was awesome. With a big win and some rain delays, we had 36 hours to recover for the gold medal game. And as it turns out, and as we kind of anticipated, Waterloo battled their way back, kind of took the long route to the championship match. This was our chance to prove to them that beating them once wasn't a fluke, and it was our turn to do it again. The game started out as a pitching duel. We had lots of strong defensive plays backing them up, making the first 3 innings kind of fly by, scoreless ball. Waterloo once again got on the board on us for the first in the 4th inning, just like they did in the last game. But it didn't bother the girls. They continued to battle, fight, putting pressure on Waterloo, forcing them to make a pitching change in the 6th inning, because their starting pitcher allowed a triple and a single, and we were starting to pile on runs. Their second pitcher went in, only pitched four balls before she had to come out, and they went back to the first pitcher. We had them scrambling. We put them in a position that they were unfamiliar with. And at the end of the 6th inning, we were up 5-2, just 3 outs away from winning the last game of the season, the game that only one team in Eastern Canada gets to win. Top of the 7th inning, Waterloo came out fighting. They had a triple and a single, scored a couple runs. It was 5-4. But these ladies didn't give up. They showed their mental toughness. They remained focused, and they didn't get down on each other. A strikeout put us with 2 outs to go. They had a runner on first base. They knew they had to get that runner all the way home to tie the game so we could go into extra innings. So on the first pitch, after the runner got to first, she took off trying to steal second base, which she did. As our shortstop missed the throw from the catcher, and it ended up in center field. It was like an oh my goodness moment. But at that point, the center fielder grabbed the ball, whipped it to the shortstop whipped it to home, and it was like we'd practiced this a million times over. Catcher put down a sweet tag, is what I got written here, a sweet tag at the plate as she was sliding over it, and it was a real judgment called by the umpire. She got called out. So we're 1 out away. 4 pitches later, soft pop fly to right field, and our right fielder hopped on her horse and went and got it, and we'd won the championship. Having the title of Eastern Canadian Championship is great, but the memories, the friendships, and the fun that we've had along the journey is something that we'll cherish and remember for a lifetime. Without the hard work on and off the field, the dedication, the passion, the team-first mentality, everyone having the same common goals all season, the support of the parents, they're all here, this achievement wouldn't have been possible. So once again, I'd like to thank you, Mayor and Council, for taking this valuable time. I know it's valuable. You got lots of work and business to take care of, but I appreciate you taking the time to recognize these champions. And I'd also like to send a special thank you to Wendy Seville for all her support and advocacy behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach, for taking us through that journey. I feel like we were there with you. First of all, I want to thank you for connecting with, I think it was Deputy Mayor, about having the opportunity to come tonight for two reasons. One, because we actually have people in council chambers, so we're really excited about that. But second, we love to be able to acknowledge these amazing accomplishments by our young athletes. And we've had some real successes in the town of LaSalle, and we don't always get to share that with others. So we love having you here today. Being a provincial champion usually is an accomplishment in itself, but to be able to say you guys went to Eastern Canadians and won it, not just got to go there, is just something that you always remember. And it truly is, you're correct, the memories that you make along the way. Winning obviously is, that cherry on top, but it's everything that gets you there that will help these young ladies become the people they are in the future. And that wouldn't be possible without all the parents standing in the back, but especially you, Coach, and your staff, all the hours you put in. So I'm sure the girls are just as thankful to you. So we do have a certificate here for your team that I'm sure you could put somewhere. I don't know where the athletics, if it's at the Turtle Club dugout or where you could display it. But I want to present that to you and your team if you want to come on up. Absolutely. This is your opportunity. If you want to leave, it's okay. You can. We understand. We'll give you a minute to clear out. Hey, that's cool too. Yeah. Nope. All right, so we're going to move on to item 2, which is Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island. And we have joining us today CEO Gordon Orr, Vice President Destination Development Lynette Bain, and Director of Marketing and Communications at Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island, Jason Toner. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. We weren't sure if we were either going to start with the high five around the table or leave with the kids. We weren't sure. But good evening, Mayor Meloche, and of course, members of LaSalle Town Council. My name is Gordon Orr. I'm proud to be the CEO of Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island. I'm joined tonight by Lynette Bain, our Vice President of Destination Development, and Jason Toner, our Director of Marketing Communications. Tonight, we're here to share with you how the year is going and highlight some of our activities for 2024. We have a brief PowerPoint to share with you, followed by the viewing of our new brand campaign video. This is the fourth of 10 council presentations we're doing across the region, and we do this for a couple of reasons. First, as part of our commitment to you to appear before you annually like we do. We want to make sure our elected officials are better informed about the work of our organization, and secondly, we want to provide you with an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have of us in this forum. So let's get started. Our mission: we're an accredited destination marketing organization as awarded by Destinations International and are the region's leading tourism industry collaborative, committed to enhancing the region's economy and quality of life. Our core functions are supporting industry development and individual operators, actively facilitating partner engagement, and effectively marketing our destination. There is our organizational chart. That's the team of 9 dedicated tourism professionals I have the privilege to work with every day. An important part of that team is also our Regional Tourism Committee, and your town is represented very well by Dawn Hodre, your Director of Strategy Engagement, and she's a good collaborative partner. But I must say, Your Worship, the entire administration from the CEO down are great partners to deal with. We're governed by an 11-member board. And speaking of active engagement, you can see there the chair of our board is none other than Mayor Meloche, and County Council is also represented by Directors Mayor Dennis Rogers and Ward McDonald. And Mayor, we'd like to thank you for your leadership, your active engagement, and your ongoing counsel, so we appreciate it. When we look back at 2023 so far, we do have to recognize what we accomplished together within the United Visitor industry, because we have had much to celebrate. Our areas of focus continue to be food and drink, arts and culture, outdoor adventure, and entertainment. We continue to use our 8th annual Best of Windsor-Essex Awards as a must-see list, as trip inspiration for ideas on where to go and visit. April saw the return of our 9th annual Staycation Expo at Devonshire Mall and the relaunch of our We Heart Local program. In April, we also launched our new visitor guide, and our digital version is up 4% in page views. In June, we had record attendance at our AGM, actually at the new LaSalle Event Center, and we had guest speaker Chris Bloor, President and CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, with us. At our AGM, we also launched our new multicultural food trail called Follow the Flavors. Partnering with Destinations Ontario, we spotlighted food and drink assets, which saw 45,000 clicks to our website. We also marketed to the U.S., harnessing our regional geographic advantage, primarily Michigan and Ohio, which saw over 741,000 clicks to our website. And in September, we hosted 5 live U.S. radio morning show remotes from Caesars Windsor with a combined listenership of over 3 million. Our summer events team, in partnership with our friends at Ontario Travel Information Centre, were out and about at 41 activations across the region. And just a few weeks ago, we launched a new program called Crossroads Historical Guide, encouraging locals and visitors alike to explore our history and connect our rich, storied past with present day. Our organization was well represented as well at last month's Ontario Tourism Summit, which garnered us 2 finalist nominations and 2 wins, I might add, with the Tourism Digital Marketing Award for My Happy Place campaign and the Travel Media Story Award for Black Tip Fishing, Fishing as a Kid video series, and a Lifetime Achievement Award for yours truly. I'd now like to turn the presentation over to Jason.
Thank you, Gordon. Where are we now as far as an industry as an organization? Our path to recovery has seen some growth. Our social media reach is just over 67,000. Our social media platforms continue to grow in engagement across the board, which you can see on the screen now. Our hotel numbers are also strong. Occupancy rate is up 16.7% year over year, and the average daily rate per room has grown by about $12 per room. Our website traffic has seen 2.1 million page views to date this year, and a 17% increase in unique visitors over 2022. Our digital services also provide over $500,000 in referral revenue through software that we utilize. In 2022, we also received over 4.4 million visitors who accounted for $669 million in tourism spending and helped employ over 10,000 individuals in Windsor and Essex. I'll now turn the presentation over to Lynette.
All right, thank you, Jason. But tonight, we also want to look into 2024. Our 2024 Destination Development and Marketing Plan is being finalized, and we have a few initiatives that we are excited to share with you now. As we strive to be an inclusive destination, we will be working with our stakeholder partners so they too, like us, can achieve their Rainbow Registered designation. With the welcome explosion of murals and sculptures that are now adorning our streets and open spaces, we are currently developing a public art trail that will launch next summer. And we will also be expanding our influencer plan to bring in higher profile and US-based content creators. We will also continue to grow our image library with photography and video assets that we will partner with our regional tourism partners on. I will turn the presentation over back to Gordon.
Thank you, Lynette. We also invite you to join us at our upcoming annual holiday social networking event. We also invite you to come to our new home. We love our new space, and we look forward to serving visitors and our tourism partners from our new digs. We launched a new brand campaign video this year called We Go Together that uses high-impact imagery and playful phrases highlighting key trip motivators in the region. And we will close in a moment by playing of our 30-second campaign video and then, of course, be able to answer any questions that you may have. Your Worship, if I may, we dropped off at your place settings our new holiday gift guide, the 5th edition, 32 pages, our biggest ever, 75,000 distribution through Canada Post directly to homes, and over 300 businesses are featured, and a reminder to everyone to help support local this year. But thank you very much for your time this evening, and more importantly, thank you for continuing to invest in tourism and your support of us at Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island. If we could please roll the video.
Bold reds and blue skies, city lights and county sights, bike rides and beautiful places, delicious bites and hometown favorites, hidden trails and open waters, island life and city style. Everything goes better when we go together. Plan your trip to Windsor Essex now at visitwindsoressex.com.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Members of council, do you have any questions or comments? Councilor Reno?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just two things. I wanted to, first of all, thank you for the presentation, but more importantly, thank you for helping the town of LaSalle through all our projects and through all our ambitions of the last year. It really, your strengths were really showcased very well in our latest endeavor with the last call before fall. You know, your footprint was all over it and very greatly appreciated. Help us create a new festival, for choice of better words, a new festival that was profitable right out of the box. And it's from the help that you gave us that really helped us push us over the top. So thank you very much for everything you've done. And two things. I always make sure that I stop and I talk to the TWEPI people wherever they are, and I always say the same thing to them. You look much friendlier than Gordon Orr, and they all chuckle. So Gordon, congratulations on your latest accomplishment, and keep doing what you're doing. You're very well appreciated.
Councilor Riccio Spagnuolo?
Thank you, through you. I just want to recognize the book. I just think this is a great tool, just very informative on different places and locations in Windsor Essex County that we can go to and purchase some great ideal gifts. And I liked the video. I thought the video, being 30 seconds, it was very catchy. So good job on that. And I, too, would like for the town, and I know Dawn does a great job, and our Patty and the events, but definitely to work with you more with bringing more lively, fun events to the town of LaSalle. Not that we're not doing a good job as of yet, or we have been, I've been saying, but I just think that working with you guys would be a great collaboration, more and more than what we have been. So yeah, so great job and congratulations to you again on your award.
Councilor Carrick?
So anyways, I'll be quick. Congratulations and keep up the good work. And I know there's not only the town of LaSalle, but we certainly appreciate the help you give us, but for the region. And the more the region grows and the more that comes to us as a whole, we all benefit. So thank you again and keep up the great work.
Mr. Militia?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thanks to the folks from TWEPI. I mean, it has been a pleasure working with you. I would say as well, in the last number of years, we've seen our relationship grow, and we're very proud of that, and I hope you are too. We certainly are encouraged by the effort that you make to be part of our community. So we'd like to say thank you for that. And on another note, we would, I know that the mayor expressed congratulations to you, Gord, with your recent award, but I just want to let you know at LaSalle, you may have heard we have an award-winning budget for a number of years in a row. And so I would encourage the folks at TWEPI to refer to their CAO as an award-winning CAO, or CEO, sorry, going forward, because I think it's important to recognize the attributes and the accolades that have come our way. Congratulations. I know you're very modest about it, but it is something to be proud of, and we are proud of you as well.
You must be a dynamic leader. They've said everything I was going to say. You know how I feel about you guys. I love being part of your committee. You do a lot for us here in the town of LaSalle, but you do a lot for our region and our businesses, and you've helped us through some of the toughest times. I think the thing I love most is the outside-the-box thinking. You guys blow me away every meeting with a new idea and a new focus that I wouldn't have even considered. And I've told you before, and I do this all the time, I visit their website to come up with things to do on the weekend. There are so many things here locally that I didn't even know we had. And even when you're trying to come up with a restaurant, or, I want to go somewhere different, everything is there for you there. Like, you guys have really been able to look at the region as a whole and help us discover what we have in our own backyard. So I definitely can't thank you enough for doing that for us. And of course, I'm not going to let you off that easy tonight. I congratulated you last time, but we do have a certificate for you as well that we'd like you to come up and accept. So.
Well, thank you, and Mayor, if I could, I just want to say, first of all, I wouldn't be receiving this award without surrounding myself by tremendous talent. So I'm very fortunate to Lynette and Jason and the entire team. And I just want to say you're very generous on your comments, and we appreciate them. But really, it's the spotlight that's shining on the region, my organization, and of course, the team that we love at the office. So, and to answer your councilor's question, we'll do anything the town of LaSalle needs us to do. We'll be there. We'll be part of that conversation. And we have been, and we enjoy the collaborative efforts of your entire team. So we love this, and we could stay here all night, but unfortunately, we've got to go to the town of Tecumseh. I hope they're as generous with their comments. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are moving to H1, which is staff reports and correspondence for council's action. So those two items were cheery and happy, and now it's time to talk business with our proposed 2024 budget release and highlights. So I'm going to turn that over to our manager of finance, Mr. Ferraro.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. The report before you provides a highlight on the 2024 operating and capital proposed budgets. Those documents will be released to the general public tomorrow and available on our town website. A copy will also be available at Town Hall for viewing. Furthermore, the budget will be available on the community engagement website, PlaySpeak. In addition to that, a public open house is planned at the Vollmer on November 29th. And finally, public budget deliberations will be held on December 6th and December 7th, if necessary, here at Town Hall. The proposed municipal levy is $46.4 million, which is an increase of $3.5 million from last year. That translates into $193 annually for the average house in the town of LaSalle, or $16.11 a month for the average house. Attached to the report is 2 appendices. The first one provides a high-level summary of the operating budget. Within that, it includes some of the contractual and inflationary items within the budget. As council is aware, we have experienced significant inflationary pressures over the last 2 years. I believe it was 6.8% in 2022. And at the end of September, year over year, it was 3.8%. So certainly 2 years of significant inflationary pressures. Also on that page are the recommended enhancements. And that's where you'll find a number of the funding initiatives with respect to long-term goals and initiatives of the town. Those include the funding for the fire master plan, funding for LaSalle Landing, as well as funding associated with the town's asset management. Lastly, there's also the police services budget, which includes funding for 2 new constables. Also on that page, you'll see a number of revenue items, including increases in corporate and departmental revenue, as well as some revenue coming from new growth, construction of new properties within the town. The second appendix is the capital budget summary. There's over 35 projects listed, a total of $26.3 million. Those projects include things such as a new fire truck planned to be ordered next year, road improvements through the Mill and Pave program, as well as phase 1 construction of the Front Road Stormwater Project. So certainly, I guess that wraps up the brief comment on that report. As I mentioned, it's $193 annually per the average house within the proposed budget, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Members of council, do you have any questions at this time? December 6th. Well, we have some reading to do. So, I mean, these were a few pages to assist us, but at the same time, there's a lot to get into. Councillor Burns?
What is the assessed value of the average house in LaSalle, please?
The assessed value of the average single-family home in LaSalle is $269,000.
Thank you very much.
Maybe quickly, if we can also clarify, because I know a lot of people will hear that and think there's no way houses in LaSalle are assessed at that. Can we just clarify why that is the current assessed value?
Yes, Mayor, members of council. The last MPAC assessment was based on January 1st, 2016, which is over 8 years ago. There has been a postponement on the reassessment for the last 4 years. So certainly while that value differs from what we might see in the marketplace today when it comes to sales, that is in fact the average residential homes average value in the town of LaSalle.
And that's the average that they're currently paying on as well.
That is correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments at this time? No? Staff, anything to add? Go ahead.
I'd just like to add, a lot of time and effort's been put into this budget by all the departments. It obviously wasn't an easy budget year, but it really truly is, besides the inflation and the buildup for all of our master plans that council's aware of, it's really a bare bones budget. There's not a lot of fluff in there. So we'll go through it in details in December 6th, but yeah, I just want to thank all the various departments throughout the town. For being responsible with their requests. And also, sorry, one more comment. Given that there is no reassessment, any rate increase will be the exact same for all properties in the town of LaSalle. It won't vary.
Thank you. So I think with that, because council is really just receiving the budget now, I think the important parts to take away from today are those dates. So November 29th, we have the open house, which will be at the Vollmer, where residents can come and speak to us about the budget, the process. There'll be members of administration there as well as members of councils to be able to help answer questions or take your concerns to our budget sessions, which again are December 6th and 7th if needed, and those will be held here. At this time, if I can just get a motion from council just to receive the report at this time. Councillor Carrick, support Councillor Reno. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Item 2, draft plan of condominium approval request for LA Suites condominium, and I will have Mrs. Brisick. This will be taking it over today. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening to you and to council. The report I'm presenting today is for an application for a draft plan of condo approval, and that's for the LA Suites condominiums. The application was made by Zelenka Priamo Limited, and that was on behalf of Suburban Construction Management. The location of the site is on Sprucewood, just west of Malden, at 1740 Sprucewood. Currently, the first phase of the LA Suites condominium is under construction and near completion with 32 dwelling units, 4 ground floor commercial units. And once total build-out is completed, it will contain 17 dwelling units, 14 accessory garage units with 10 ground floor commercial units and amenity space. And that is within the 2 5-story buildings. Previously, in 2021, Council did see the site plan control before you and was approved at that time. So that is already completed, as well as the zoning was already in place for the lands. When going through and considering plans of condominium, we look at the provincial policy statement to see if it is consistent. Specifically within the provincial policy statement, the application was consistent with the section pertaining to settlement areas, as well as housing, in that it obviously provides a range and mix of housing types to the community. And it is located within our settlement area, which I move on to the County of Essex official plan, where the application conforms to the County of Essex official plan, in that it is located within our prime settlement area, which should be the area of where we focus on growth. Furthermore, it also conforms with our Town of LaSalle official plan, where it is located within the designated area LaSalle Town District, LaSalle Town Center District, as well, where a mixed use is encouraged. And again, specifically, this development will include both commercial and residential mixed-use development. Moving on to the Town of LaSalle zoning bylaw, the application for a draft plan of condo complies, whereas the property is zoned Town Center 1 zone, or TC1, which permits as well a mixed use such as residential and various commercial. As mentioned previously, the site was already zoned TC1. So with all financial, design, and technical requirements already have been addressed within the site plan approval process, and where the town already holds securities for the development, a condo agreement was deemed not required for this particular situation. However, on the basis that any of the agency comments provided by the county were new and not previously addressed in that site plan, we could go forward and request an amendment is required to that site plan agreement so that we can capture any of those new comments if they were to come forward. So with that, I'll move to the recommendation that the report be received and that council pass a resolution in support of the requested draft plan approval for the proposed LA Suites condominium, subject to the conditions that have been outlined in the recommendation section of the report, and that a copy of this report be forwarded to the County of Essex, who is the approval authority. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have, it says here I had someone joining through Zoom. Is that still happening?
Yes, so the applicant's agent is available via Zoom for any questions, and I believe also Christian Lefebvre is to be in the audience, but I don't see him, so probably just over Zoom.
Thank you. Anything else, administration, you want to add? Members of council, any questions or comments regarding what's been presented to us of administration or Councillor Desjardins?
Thank you. Pardon me, I'll speak as loudly as I can. I just have a quick concern about the number of accessible parking lots. When I'm looking at the whole package, I'm only seeing 9 handicap spots. In what's being presented tonight in the news circle, I'm only seeing 5. Is that according to provincial guidelines? Is there an opportunity that you can add some more to it? Because we do have a population of older folks, and we do have some physically challenged people that live in the community, and I'm wondering if that's adequate parking for them.
Thank you very much. Administration, Ms. Beggs?
Thank you for the question. So to your question, Councillor Desjardins, the site plan has been approved for the development. The development is first phase of the development is currently under construction, and any approval associated with that development would have to have complied with the parking regulations in effect at the time in the zoning bylaw. So whatever is under construction is currently approved relative to parking requirements and accessible parking as well.
Okay. If there's an issue after the construction is finished, is the owner applicant willing to change some of those parking spots to more accessible spots if they get some pushback on it?
So if the development isn't constructed in conformance with the drawings, which will be required to comply with the accessible parking requirements for the municipality, then the developer will be obligated to amend the site plan or to amend the construction so it's reflective of the plan.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if the applicant's agent has anything else to add or if he can confirm the discrepancy between the two plans more effectively.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. My name is Harry Frusios. I'm with Olympic Preamble Limited. We're the agents and planning consultants for Suburban Construction Management. We're just here this evening to answer any questions. We want to thank staff for processing this application in a very timely manner, and we support the recommendation. In response to the councillor, the site plan that has been approved, and I concur with staff, it is in accordance with the minimum standards of the zoning bylaw. At the same time, whatever we need to do to comply, we will do that. But we have to also be cautious that if we put in more accessible spaces than are required, it might come at the cost of meeting the overall minimum requirements. We have to make sure that we meet all zoning requirements, not just for the accessible spaces. At this point in time, I'm not sure why there's a discrepancy, but we do rely on the approved site plan, and that's what will be constructed on site, which is in accordance with the minimum zoning standards of the municipality.
Okay, I appreciate that answer. And I'm asking because I get comments from a lot of our residents that our new building areas, although they fit all the site plans, blah, 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 there aren't enough accessible parking spots. So it's something that I'll be honest, I bring up almost every time we see a new building, a new build going up. So I just wanted to know if there was any opportunity to change it later on. I understand what you're saying, that it's difficult, but it's difficult for our residents too. So, and you want them to come and shop and you want them to come and live there. So let's give them a place to park. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Carrick?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So the same question I asked in the original buildings built. So it looks like this is the build-out phase. There will be no more buildings going into this particular section, from what I can understand here. And secondly, for the second building, where are the commercial spaces? I know we have parking assigned for that so that it's not being, residents aren't having to scramble for spaces if there's extra spaces. Just the ratio versus the commercial versus the residential to make sure there's enough parking, at least for commercial as well.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So to answer the first question, so the existing building that's under construction has site plan approval already. And this draft plan of condominium will apply to the balance of the entire site. So the existing building that's under construction as well as the future building that is yet to be constructed. Does that help to answer the first part? Yes. Okay. So the second part related to parking, I'm not sure exactly where the commercial spaces are. I believe they're all located on the main floor of the building, but perhaps the applicant confirm. But the applicant site plan will have to comply with both the commercial parking requirements as well as the residential parking requirements. And they'll be required to comply with the minimum requirements set for those two different types of uses.
Thank you. I just know that these condos nowadays are expensive, and you need two people basically to take care of the mortgage. So there are probably going to be two cars per unit. So I just want to make sure that we're not overloading and they're not going other areas to offset. Just want to make sure that, I know there's standards and what has to be, what's allowed and what's not allowed, but as we continue to grow and things become more expensive, you need two people at least to help pay for the bills, and that usually requires two vehicles. So I just want to throw that out there and maybe for a response.
So I think you make a pretty compelling point. Our current parking ratio for each unit is 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit, and we're told actually that that's a bit high. We're getting some pushback from the development community to lower that parking requirement. So it'll be interesting to see as we move through the development application process where we end up, but we're anticipating that some developers are going to be bringing forward parking justifications for a reduced ratio.
Thank you. And I think if we can pull up figure 1, can we put that back on the screen for a second? That one there. So if you look at that, the very right side, the little piece that sticks out, that would, I believe, when this was purchased, was added in to be able to satisfy the parking requirements for that development. So that's why that's to show that they have enough parking for the condos as well as the commercial, which is on the ground floor. So that should be enough parking and it meets the requirements, but I know that was part of this development originally when it was submitted to us. This was added to be able to get that parking. Ms. Beggs?
No, just to add to that, just for council's clarity and certainty, we don't process any application for site plan approval unless it complies with our parking requirements. If they're going to seek relief, there's an opportunity to do that through a planning process, but they are required to comply with the parking that's stipulated in the zoning bylaw.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, there's a recommendation before you. Yeah. Moved by Councillor Carrick, support. Councillor Desjardins, all in favor? That carries. Did you have a question? Okay. All right, that carries. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
Item 3 was our short-term rentals, and I'm going to have Ms. Beggs speak on this as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. I have a relatively short presentation that IT is going to help me queue up. There we go. So tonight's report comes from a prior council resolution requesting that administration come back with a report that explores the options for regulating short-term rental inventory within the town of LaSalle. So as part of this report, we're going to explore what exactly is a short-term rental, or often referred to as an STR, what the current STR inventory is in LaSalle. What we've been able to research is representative of the inventory anyways, and the complaints that we've received to date attributable to STRs. We'll talk a little bit about the STR advantages and disadvantages that have been well researched in the literature, a possible STR regulatory framework that identifies some key characteristics, look a little bit about our municipal comparators, and then we'll have the report recommendation at the end. So I thought that this slide was kind of interesting. It's a good graphic, I think, to help define exactly what an STR is. Different municipalities seem to define them with different features. So I think, you can have a short-term rental in the entirety of a dwelling, or you can have it in one room within a dwelling. You can have an STR in a house, you can have it in a secondary suite, a carriage house, a garden suite, a cabin, an apartment, or a condo. Typically, an STR is rented for a short period of time, which seems to be either for between less than 30 days or less than 28 days. They're primarily utilized by visitors or tourists. They're often utilized without any in-person interaction, and they're facilitated on a number of different platforms, most notably Airbnb, Home and Away, VRBO. So those are some of the key features associated with an STR. In terms of perceived STR advantages and disadvantages, for some, STRs are considered an important source of income for residents in a very challenging economy, so it provides that additional income opportunity. And STRs can function to also increase tourism spending in a neighborhood around the shops and different restaurants, which in turn can increase revitalization of existing neighborhoods within the community. Some of the perceived disadvantages associated with STRs, one of the more common notions is that they exacerbate safety and nuisance concerns within residential neighborhoods. This includes a wide range of issues such as increased traffic, parking, noise, property damage concerns, and often this perceived threat of safety or influencing the safety of an existing established neighborhood. So that idea that it can function to destabilize residential neighborhoods, change the residential look and feel of existing built-up neighborhoods through transient accommodation. So it changes the look and feel of community in your neighborhood with a lot of people coming in and out of the different areas. Sorry, can you just go back? Not done with that one yet. Some argue that STRs make it harder for people to find quality, affordable housing that's available to rent long-term. So the value proposition of an STR is more enticing for people, which results in STRs often absorbing the longer-term rental stock. So there's less long-term rentals available to actually rent for affordable housing purposes. There's also the idea that it competes with the existing accommodation sector, which is more traditionally located in a downtown, and from a planning perspective, there's the potential to erode the more traditional commercial core within an established downtown. So it's imperative that any regulatory framework that we would come up with, or any municipality would come up with, would attempt to sort of balance all of these competing interests. Next slide. So we did a little bit of a deeper dive into the STR inventory locally, and there appear to be hundreds of platforms where you can advertise your short-term rental. So it's really hard to get an accurate depiction of what the actual inventory is locally. For the purpose of this report, we use sort of the bigger players, Airbnb, Home and Away, VRBO, Booking.com. And we came up with roughly 12 STRs within the LaSalle inventory. And these STRs vary. Some are in rooms within a dwelling, some are the whole dwelling, some are within accessory dwelling units on the lot. So it really varies in terms of where the different short-term rentals are located. I think it's important to note also that in discussions with police and bylaw, we were able to confirm that to date, bylaw has received 0 complaints attributable to STRs, and police has maybe received a handful of complaints, and mostly those are related to noise and parking associated with a short-term rental. So, given that there's relatively low inventory against relatively few complaints, it's really hard for administration to accept that this is potentially a problem that's affecting the broader community. Next slide, please. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this slide. It's a bit of a word salad. There's lots going on. So I think from the research, this is generally what the regulatory framework for STRs tend to incorporate. Some of the key characteristics of any regulatory framework associated with regulations for STRs include public and stakeholder engagement, perhaps a zoning amendment, perhaps a licensing program, and then an implementation bylaw. And the circles overlap one another because these different characteristics inform, influence, and sort of drive one another. So I think also through this slide, what I'm trying to demonstrate is that if we were to go down this path of establishing a regulatory framework, it is a comprehensive interdepartmental exercise that would involve the support and assistance from multiple departments in the organization. So I think it's important for council to know that that has an impact. So as part of public and stakeholder engagement, we would really look to identify what the existing issues associated with STRs are for our community. So we would invite members of the public to participate and let us know what their concerns are. It really starts with issue identification. If we don't understand the problem, then we don't know how to fix it. So that's what would go into stakeholder and public engagement. We would also liaise with affordable housing providers, landlord associations, the online platforms, Tourism Windsor Essex, Windsor Economic Development Corporation, and any other stakeholders that are that the Department of Strategy and Engagement would think would be applicable. So we would lean quite heavily on the support of the Strategy and Engagement Department to undertake this engagement exercise as part of a framework. It would appear that many of the municipalities also adopt short-term rentals as a permitted use within the zoning bylaw, so that could be an option for us as well. When we do that, we legally recognize STRs within the bylaw, and we allow for STRs in certain zones. So we could explore what would be palatable to us and what the community would want to see relative to zoning. And evidently that would be an exercise that planning and development would undertake. We would then look to develop some sort of a licensing program, which the authority for that comes under the Municipal Act. And essentially it provides the proof that an STR is legitimized by an established municipal process, ensuring minimum health and safety standards are met. Oftentimes, platforms will require proof of a license prior to an individual host being allowed to advertise on the website. So that would be a very large undertaking with the support of council services. We would also loop in building and fire as part of plans review associated with that license. We often have, the research dictates that, fire prevention plans are required, different plans under the building code are required in order to substantiate public health and safety. And then the last piece of the regulatory framework would be to establish an implementation bylaw. And this implementation bylaw would establish the requirements of the licensing program that would be required by hosts, the renewal of the license, and the penalties for noncompliance. This would also be an undertaking that we would rely on council services for assistance with. We'd also look to the legal department, bylaw enforcement, as well as police for enforcement purposes. So that in essence would be the framework associated with any STR regulatory regime we would undertake. Next slide, please. So these were just for council's reference, some metrics we were able to come up with for STRs countywide. These numbers are a bit dated. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find updated numbers, but I think it's reasonable to assume that these numbers have just gone up in the last 3 years. What we know from Leamington is that, while they have, looks to be over 100 STRs in 2020, in our discussions with the municipality of Leamington, they are currently not looking at regulating STRs. In Essex, they have a rather comprehensive program, but again, Essex has a bit of a tourist draw with Colchester and the wineries there, so it kind of makes sense that they're exploring regulatory STRs in that municipality. Tecumseh has very few, and in discussions with them, that's not something that they're looking to explore at this time. Windsor obviously has many, and they do have a rather comprehensive program. Lakeshore just recently did an amendment to their zoning bylaw to prohibit STRs. But they are going through with a licensing program and an implementation bylaw, I understand. And then Amherstburg also has an adopted and comprehensive program. Next slide. So we did just a little bit of a jurisdictional scan. I'll just go through it high level here. On the left, we have the different components of the regulatory framework and the initiatives that were undertaken by the municipalities that did produce STR regulatory programs. It's our understanding that Lakeshore is currently looking at the licensing program and the implementation bylaw. The town of Amherstburg and the city of Windsor chose not to amend their zoning bylaw or bring in STRs into their zoning bylaw, and to just rely on the requirements of the licensing program itself to regulate STRs. Next slide. So that brings us to the recommendation. I am recommending that the report be received and that administration continue to rely on the existing municipal bylaws, whether it be parking, noise, property standards, to regulate short-term rentals to the extent possible, while continuing to monitor over time the short-term rental market within the municipality against the need for future regulatory consideration. And in the report, I did highlight that we're willing to come back in a year's time. We'll continue to monitor the inventory of STRs against the complaints that we receive from bylaw and police to determine what exactly is the problem and if there is a need for future regulation. So that concludes the report, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Members of council. Councillor Carrick.
Just bring past to you, Your Worship. So just I'm understanding this correctly. So we have tools already, we can deal with certain aspects of it. I guess the concern, down the road is we review it in a year, but if we started doing that and we go down that direction and we have issues, how quickly can we respond to that? How do we deal with just saying neighbors that are unruly, they're in condos, they're renting them for, if that's possible, for a month or two, and there's more than one or two instances. How quickly are we able to respond to something like that? Or is this not capturing what I'm talking about here?
Through you, Madam Mayor. I think, we're able to deal with those complaints with the existing municipal bylaws that we have. So if it's a noise complaint, for example, that's captured within our noise bylaw. If there is a complaint associated with parking, that is captured within our parking bylaw. But, we can't regulate and control things that we don't have adopted and approved bylaws to regulate and control. And in the absence of a comprehensive program to regulate STRs, we won't be able to regulate, transients coming in and out of neighborhoods to that extent.
Your Worship, so just a quick follow-up. So I'm trusting your recommendations that within a year, I don't think things will change much, hopefully not, as what we're dealing with now, but if things do start, at least we'll have something coming back and then we can react to that upon that next report. Is that what we're saying?
That's correct.
Any other questions or comments? No? I think what Councillor Carrick just mentioned was my thought as well, is I don't see a major change in the town of LaSalle in the next year, but I am slightly concerned with us just revisiting in a year, knowing that the report says this is going to be a 1 to 2 year project to undertake, and knowing how busy that department is, it could potentially take longer, that I'm afraid to just put it on the back burner and keep reassessing, because if that issue does come up, it's not going to be a quick one for us to resolve. So that's my only concern. I've heard from a few people in the municipality who have neighbors who rent their home and have Airbnbs, and they're concerned sometimes with safety of who's coming in and out. They're concerned with people renting them and throwing parties for a weekend. And so I'm starting to hear little things here and there that I just don't want us to put it on the back burner and revisit, and then in a year from now go, yeah, it's starting to see it, and it's still going to take us another year or two to do anything. So that's my only thing coming out of this. I want to make sure that we're not just kind of pushing it back to the point where we can't react quick enough. And I think this area is turning into that area that's become a destination, as Twepi just presented. We have all these great things in Windsor, Essex, and people are coming here for weekends. I think we do need to make sure that we have something in place to protect the people who do live in our community. But whatever council would like to put forward at this time, I'll look for a motion. Councillor Carrick, you have a motion?
I'll move the recommendation with your comments included, like considered down the road. That we don't wait too long to bring something back. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Just to clarify, do you want it to come back sooner, or are we going with the actual recommendation?
Year's fine. I think after that, maybe, through you, I think 1 year is fine. I think after that, maybe we can speed it up a little bit and bring it back a little quicker if things do start to arise and we need to address it a little sooner. But I think 1 year is fair because we do have a lot of stuff going on and things are, I'll say, busy. So we'll try to just make sure, unless things pop up, then we can always bring it back ourselves, right?
So do you want them to come back in a year with another update, or do you want them in a year from now to start doing the report? I guess that, I'm just want to clarify which one.
I'm okay with either, but I will refer to Goodrin in that.
Oh, boy. So I would prefer, it would be my recommendation to continue to work with police and bylaw enforcement so that we can really understand if there is a problem and what the problem is and what we're trying to solve. And to continue to monitor on the different websites the uptake of the STR inventory in LaSalle. And I know Ms. Hadre and I had a discussion earlier today about TWEPI actually helping us with some data that they have for STRs locally. So we can incorporate the data that we have to paint a better picture, a more informed picture of the current STR inventory in LaSalle, and then we can bring that report back to council for consideration in a year's time.
Councillor Richo-Spagnola?
Thank you, through you. Just a question to Mrs. Goodrin. You may have said it, I may have missed it. So I do like the idea of like a licensing program and renewal, but is there an application that they have to fill in? Is there only a certain amount that we are accepting here in LaSalle? A certain amount of short-term rentals?
Thank you for the question. So those are good questions. We don't have that level of detail available just yet. Those would all be questions that we would answer if it was an assigned project and we were to explore its implementation. So, you know, those would be questions that we would answer as part of that process.
Councillor Carrick?
So, Your Worship, I'm satisfied with the response. I'll stick with the recommendation moving, seconded by Mr. Burns.
Mr. Militia?
If perhaps I can just make a suggestion for members of council. This time of year is typically one of our busiest times of year. And so if I could just perhaps make the recommendation, or the suggestion, I should say, to perhaps set the timeline as March 31st, 2025, that we will report back to council on the status at that point, because it's a little more than a year, but the fall period is typically our busiest period. And so from a workload development side, you know, I think it might give us a little bit more time. It'll also give us a little bit more research in terms of what our neighboring municipalities who are just recently getting into this program, of what their results are. And it'll give it a little bit more time from that perspective. So if, with council's indulgence, I'll just make that suggestion. We'll work to whatever timeline you suggest or whatever you mandate. However, I think from our standpoint, perhaps on March 31st, 2025 report back date might be a little bit more, more palatable and more easier to manage with our workload schedule.
Councillor Carrick?
I think Councillor Reno wants to say something, but I guess the only thing I will add or ask upon those comments is that, let's just say 6 months from now, we're dealing with some stuff. How quickly would we have the ability to bring something like this back and forward, as opposed to making this motion? That makes that clear enough?
Certainly, if whether internally as we monitor the situation or members of council become aware We certainly can bring that back before. There's no magic to that particular date. If issues begin to arise, and we notice that even with our internal analysis, or you're hearing that more from the public, certainly we're more than willing to bring that forward. I will just caution council that from that point forward, to develop a full-out program to monitor and manage, that is a process unto itself. So I just don't want council to walk away with the impression that if issues arise, in May, for example, that we begin to speak about them, and then we will have a solution that will be implemented in June. That's probably not likely going to happen. We're going to have to amend some bylaws, create policies, perhaps deal with whatever staffing issues or resources we may need. And so those are things that we'd have to contemplate at that point in time. It won't be as quick of a turnaround that I think maybe some are getting the impression on. But certainly back to the timeline, if issues arise, we can certainly bring that back sooner, and we would do that as part of that process.
Yeah, just for clarification, in the report, it does say that once we decide we want to go down this road, it's 1 to 2 year project undertaking. So if we say March of next year, we'll revisit and see where we're at, and now we want something, or 1 to 2 years after that, we will get that back. Councillor Reno?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to mention, much to the same words that you had said, we're starting to hear a little bit more as the discussion is out in the community. You get people saying, hey, I live next to this is the problem I'm having, or I live next to this and I don't have a problem. And another one you had mentioned about a person that's going to rent their pool out for the summer. These are things that when I put myself in the residents' shoes, I go, I really wouldn't want that happening next to me. I appreciate the report, and I have no problem supporting the idea that we are going to continue with bylaw, but I do think we need to communicate to people that reach out to us directly that this is a bylaw issue, that they need to go through bylaw and take it as far as they can that way. Because not only will it allow them to get some kind of closure, but it will also give us the stats that we need to say that maybe this is more than just a one-off thing. Because right now it sounds like nobody's reporting it, and it sounds like very little is even going through policing. And if that's because there's not really a problem, that's great. But at the same time, I do want the message to be out, if you are having a problem, please reach out and we'll get you to the right people.
Thank you. And I hate to point you out, but Chief, this is hopefully something you'll be part of the discussion going forward, because we've heard things over the last year or so that we're starting to experience some negative effects in our community due to this short-term rental. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are experiencing some issues with short-term rentals, and but just for council's awareness too, we do respond in emergency response. So when we're dealing with criminal offenses or anything along that lines, there's a lot of enforcement action that we can take and we can deal with. And as Ms. Biggs had spoke about parking, about noise, that kind of thing, which we deal with often. But there is also, I believe on each of those sites, there is a self-policing, I believe, on some of those businesses. Airbnb, I believe, has a restriction on their sites as well, so that anybody who's renting on their site and advertising through them, if there is some kind of problem, there can be a complaint lodged through them and they can actually be delisted from the site. So there is a bit of mechanics that happen behind the scenes that perhaps we're not aware of. But when it comes to anything that's criminal or where there's a safety concern, we will deal with it and deal with it as best we can.
Thank you. So with that, we have the motion and the seconder. We're good? Did you want the date changed?
I think we can take the CAO's comments into consideration in the date. I'm fine with that. Helps.
For Q1 of 2025, we don't have to put a date on it.
Right. Okay, yeah, first quarter of March.
Okay. Okay. All in favor? That carries. Street naming request for Huron Acres subdivision. Did I read that one already? Nope, okay. I thought I skipped one. Ms. Bursick?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the report tonight is about naming a street within the Huron Acres subdivision. Previously, the other streets within the subdivision, Silverleaf Lane, was approved. And tonight, bringing to you the request to name the street that is in an east-west fashion to be named Vel Lane. Staff have reviewed and are in support of the proposed Vel Lane street name. So I'll move to the recommendation that the report be received and that Vel Lane be the approved street name for the east-west street within the Huron Acres subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of council, any questions or comments? There being none, move recommendation. Councillor Reynolds, support Councillor Riccio Spagnolo. All in favor? That carries. Item 5, use of surety bonds as security. We're going to have our Director of Finance, Mr. Langlois, and then we'll follow it up with our delegate.
Thank you. So this here report is recommending that we allow surety bonds to financially secure up to 80% of servicing requirements associated with plans of subdivision in the town of LaSalle. You know, we're always looking at ways to help out developers. Development's very important to the town, also while minimizing the town's risk and costs. You know, a couple years ago we had a holiday on condo development charges where we weren't charging them that, you know, that was costly to the town of LaSalle. But this is a way, you know, there's really minimal risk to the town of LaSalle and it doesn't really cost us anything. So, you know, it's surety bonds are different than regular other types of bonds in the way that there really is no risk to the town of LaSalle, or any town for that matter. You know, there's no onus on the municipality to prove default, where other bond types, you know, the municipalities have to prove that a default has happened. That can be very timely and take a lot of time before the town receives the funds. So that's one of the main pointers and benefits to this. The main difference, right now, the town only accepts letters of credit as security. And really the only difference between surety bonds is that rather than through the banks providing the security, it's through insurers. So, you know, sureties are selective. They won't just provide bonds to any company. They have to prove themselves, as mentioned in the report. They have to have good credit, a strong positive history, and the project specifics must be appropriate with respect to the project economy, schedule, and construction trades. And you know, this is a large benefit to the developer in that it improves their liquidity. So with letters of credit, they typically have to provide the value, the same value of the construction work that's occurring. So it's, you know, if the project's $1 million, they also have to provide a letter of credit for $1 million as well, and that ties up funding that they could use for other projects. And then also, the surety bond rates are significantly lower than letter of credit rates, so it does save the developer money as well. So I am recommending that we fund up to, allow security up to 80% through surety bonds, and the remaining 20% through letters of credit. Now, historically, we really haven't had to call much on letters of credit. Maybe once we've had to go over 10% the value of the project. But, you know, this is going to cover us and make sure there's really no risk to the town of LaSalle. And then also in the recommendation, you know, we want this to be on a case-by-case basis, just so that we can look into and make sure that, and do a little research on the insurance company that would be providing the surety bond to make sure that they have a good credit rating and a good history. And last, you know, this is becoming a more popular. It's in line with the Build More Homes Faster Act goals. A lot of municipalities up towards Toronto are beginning to accept these, and then Calgary, the city of Calgary has been accepting them as security since 2019. So on that, I'd be happy to answer any questions council has.
Thank you. I'm going to now have Ms. Prince come forward.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to reiterate a couple of key points. My name's Cindy Prince. I'm here on behalf of Amico Properties. Currently, we have 2 subdivisions under development in Lakeshore. The smaller one, I think it has 26 units. We have servicing costs of $1.2 million. So we need $1.2 million to do the work. We have to post a letter of credit with you for $1.2 million as well. For us to post a letter of credit, we have to take out of our operating funds $1.2 million. So to service 26 lots, it's costing us $2.4 million. Then we get the money back when we're all done, not the part we have to pay to do it, but we get the 1.2 back. But it's that 1.2 that's just sitting and not producing anything is sort of contrary to a developer's way of thinking. We'd prefer to take that $1.2 million and do something else, good in your municipality. So we're seeing a very much an increase in the use of demand bonds. They're actually better than letters of credit in that you have complete discretion to call on the bond, and the funds have to be provided within 5 business days. So again, a little bit faster and less onerous than a letter of credit, drawing on that. And it does allow us to help try and keep the cost of development down a little bit. And the other perhaps point is a company has to hit certain milestones in order to qualify for the use of demand bonds with the surety. And those requirements are very onerous, and they do require a very strong track record, if you will.
Thank you. Members of council, any questions or comments on what's been presented? No? Councillor Desjardins? Still? Okay. All right. Recommendation before you. Move the recommendation. Councillor Carrick. Support Councillor Richa Spagnolo. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Item 6 is our petition policy, and I'm going to have Ms. Jean, our Deputy Clerk, take that.
Thank you, Mayor Meloche. As outlined in the report, the petition policy was drafted with the intent on creating a more streamlined and efficient process for a resident who wishes to bring forward a petition to council. Historically, when a petition was received from a resident, it may have gone directly to planning, directly to public works. Sometimes it was left at the reception desk, and it would make its way to the appropriate department. Eventually, a report would be submitted on the agenda to council. The resident would really not have a key point person on who to discuss this with or how to follow up on that. And while this worked, the residents, it was an inefficient and something that we needed to manage and review. In the petition policy, it states that all petitions will be submitted to the clerk for review. And through the process, the clerk will review the petition, a submission form will be submitted. If the requirements are met, the clerk will put the petition on an upcoming agenda. New to the process is a petition submission form. This is something that we thought up in our department where we would have the petitioner actually complete a petition form first, and that would include name, address, what they are petitioning for, contact information, did you speak to administration, things like that. And that would be reviewed by the clerk. And then it would, would that qualify to bring to council? That would kind of weed out anything that's not, that would not be something that council could actually, would be outside of the realm of council's decision-making power. So that would be reviewed by the clerk. Once the petition was placed on the agenda, council can receive the information and take no further action, or council can request for a report to be prepared. At that point, it would be added to the summary reports, and administration would bring a report back with the petition, and the petitioner as well would be able to speak to that. Some of the highlights of the process is that the policy applies to all petitions received except those governed by any other town policy or piece of legislation. So for instance, the Drainage Act, the Planning Act, we have a fee waiving policy, things like that. Those would not come through a petition. It should not apply to the purchase or sale of land. As you know, those come through closed session, and due to the timelines of purchasing or selling, a petition may affect our timelines and our ability to bid. A petition, if it was brought to council within the last 12 months, will not be accepted, and all the petitioner and signatories should own or lease property or reside in the town. That's a very high-level overview of the petition and the report, but I'm available for questions if you have any.
Thank you. Councillor Reno?
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, thank you for the policy. We've seen a few petitions in the last few years, including quite sizable one about a year ago. Just a few questions about the vetting process. So the way I understand, the way you've explained it, is that someone will come into town hall and say, we want to make a petition. They'll give you information about themselves and their cause. You'll say, that's a great idea, go out and get a petition. Then they'll bring it into you completed, say 300 signatures. You'll go through all those signatures to make sure that they're from the town of LaSalle or own property in the town of LaSalle, and then you will strike out. Will you be striking out names that are invalid?
So there's different ways to go about that. So they can complete the submission form and have the petition submitted at the same time. The clerk will review that. If there are some people, say, signing from Windsor or from Amherstburg, they're not a LaSalle resident, somebody from the council services will discuss that with the petitioner. We won't strike them out. We would not want to, interfere with the actual petition or mark that in any way. So we would have to discuss that with the petitioner moving forward, so that it would be submitted with all the requirements as per the policy.
I see, okay. And my next question, a lot of times a petition is something that is created in the darkness. They want to get their following, they want to get their point across, and then they deliver it to the town of LaSalle. How will they be treated if we wanted them to register beforehand? Would we be accepting that petition that day, or would we say you have to start over? What would happen then?
We would walk them through the process. Almost like, similar to what we do for a delegate. Right now, we have delegates come through a form and a submission process prior to anything that's coming to council. We have an electronic form. It would be something similar to that we would vet. Obviously, if a resident wants to speak to council or wants to come to council for anything like that, of course they will come, but we would vet that and make sure that an administrative report is prepared, that administration is ready for the conversation. They wouldn't just come to council with a petition, and that doesn't qualify under the policy.
Okay, so last question. If someone was to create a petition without your knowledge, however, it's something that council can deal with, would you accept that petition even though it's not registered and move the process forward, or would you make them start all over and get their petition together again?
We wouldn't make them start right over, but we would want them to complete a submission form.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
And just to clarify, so the main reason for the policy is so that we have a process for dealing with petitions. We have provided and will provide a sample petition form on the website, but the policy is very clear on what the petition must require to be considered valid. Residents are not required to attend to council services or notify the town that we are preparing a petition. They can prepare their petition without our knowledge and submit it to us through the website or drop it off, provided it meets the requirements of the policy and is within council's jurisdiction. That petition will be brought forward to council for your decision. And when I say decision, either referral back to administration for a report or just a receipt. So I just want to make sure that council's clear on how we are going to deal with these petitions in the future, because there has been some I don't want to say confusion, but we don't get enough of them that we can always remember, well, what did we do with this last time and how do we want to handle it? And rather than spend administration's time in preparing reports that council is not, for actions that council is not interested in entertaining, we would rather bring them forward to council and then have council refer it back to administration so we know that this is something council is interested in.
Councillor Renaud, you want to follow
Yeah,
up?
just one final thing. That's not a problem. I just wanted to make sure, knowing that a lot of times people start putting a petition before they let you know, I just wanted to make sure that they weren't going to be squashed and told that they wouldn't be allowed to put it in. So I'm just looking out for the people that are actually trying to do something and get a petition together.
No, absolutely, and we can appreciate that. And one of the main drivers on a petition, and what we want to make sure of as administration, is that when somebody is signing a petition, they're aware of the subject matter of the petition. So there are, some very direct requirements on the petition that each page of the petition that somebody signs, has information at the top of the petition page which outlines, what the petition is for and what the ask is of council. So people are not just signing papers and not really understanding what they are signing. So, if you are talking to residents and they do indicate that they want to bring a petition forward, please, we are working very hard to develop our website and to make sure all the information is there for them. Please direct them to the website or to contact council services so we can make sure that they understand what the requirements are, because the last thing we want to do is deny a petition because it doesn't meet some of the requirements that are laid out in the policy.
Councillor Carrick?
Just a little bit further to that, but mine's more toward getting to the meeting. So they meet all the criteria, they fill it out properly, they get to the meeting now. There is no input from administration at that point. It's council's decision to kick it back to administration, just so we're clear. Is that right? There's no recommendation, there's none of that. Council makes that decision and kicks it back.
Yes, that's the intent of the policy.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. There being none, there's a recommendation before you. Moved by Councillor Carrick, support Councillor Burns. All in favor? That carries. Consent agenda. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, plus there's a bunch in correspondence. Any items anyone would like to remove and speak to? Nope, there being none. The only one I'm looking to speak to is actually 3A, 3E. They're both the exact same, which is support for Bill 21. I'd like to see us support Bill 21 instead of just receiving it. And Bill 21 is the Fixing Long-Term Care Amendment Act, which is the Till Death Do Us Part, and more or less speaking to spouses who reside in long-term care being able to stay together instead of being separated. So that's if council would consider supporting that instead of just receiving it. Okay, so moved by Councillor Carrick, support by Councillor Riccio Spagnolo. All in favor of that? Okay, and then we're looking at the other items, and we're okay to receive those items? Councillor Renaud, Councillor Burns, all in favor? And that carries as well. Committee matters. We have the Essex County Council highlights for the October 18th, 2023 meeting. Any questions or comments on that? There being none, if we can get a motion to receive those. Councillor Desjardins and Councillor Renaud, all in favor? That carries. Any questions and statements by council members? No. Notice of motion? Okay. Closed session. So earlier this evening, council met in closed session to discuss two matters. The first matter being a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by town located on Malden Road. Council received information and provided direction to administration. And item 2, with respect to the second matter, council reviewed applications for an appointment to the Court of Revision. And the recommendation is that council appoints Peter Laporta as a member of the Court of Revision effective immediately through to the end of the term of council being November 14th, 2026. Support?
Not the first part.
Not, yes. Councillor Richo Spagnolo. So we're just going to do item 1. Do you want to, because Councillor Carrick is cleared conflict, so we can just do the motions. We're just going to do the motion on the second one. So Councillor Carrick, you're okay with that, and Councillor Richo Spagnolo. All in favor? That carries. Bylaws. So we have 2 bylaws. The first bylaw be given a third reading and finally passed, and that's bylaw 8809. Councillor Reno and Councillor Burns, all in favor? That carries. And the second one is be given a first, second, third reading and finally passed, and that's bylaw 8834. Councillor Reno, Councillor Desjardins, all in favor? That carries. And before the confirmatory bylaw, I just wanted to welcome our Manager of Planning and Development, Christina Bursick, who has joined us for her first official council meeting. Thank you very much and welcome to the team. And with that, we have the confirmatory bylaw 8335 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed. Councillor Carrick and Councillor Burns, all in favor? That carries. Schedule of meeting is listed below. Thank you for joining us online and in person. Have a great night.